Zara's boyfriend made one mistake, threatening her in front of Seoul's most dangerous man. The warehouse was freezing. Ethan's hands were zip-tied behind his back, and 4 men in black suits surrounded him like statues. Then he walked in, the Korean man from the restaurant, the one who'd been watching when Ethan grabbed Zara's arm and screamed those words. Min-Jun Park didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He simply played the recording on his phone, the sound echoing off concrete walls. "You're dead when we get home." Ethan's own voice clear as day. Min-Jun crouched down, his eyes dead calm. "You see, that woman you threatened? She saved my sister's life 3 months ago, which means she's under my protection." He stood slowly, adjusting his cufflinks with deliberate precision. "And you just made the worst mistake of your pathetic existence." Ethan's breath came in short gasps. We were just fighting. I didn't mean..." Min-Jun leaned closer, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "Here's what's going to happen. You're leaving Korea tonight. If you ever contact her again, if you even think about her, I'll know. And next time, we won't be having a conversation." The terror in Ethan's eyes said he understood exactly who he was dealing with. If you want to see how a mafia boss falls for the woman he only wanted to protect, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. 3 months earlier, Zara Jackson stood on a Seoul subway platform with her sketch pad, drawing commuters who'd never know they'd become her art. The evening rush pressed around her, a sea of faces, everyone lost in their phones. She didn't notice the young Korean woman stumble near the platform edge. Ji-woo Park's phone clattered onto the tracks. Without thinking, she jumped down to retrieve it. The train announcement blared, 30 seconds. The crowd froze. Dozens of people, all watching, none moving. Zara moved. She dropped her sketch pad and jumped, her feet hitting the tracks hard. She grabbed Ji-woo's arm and shoved her up toward reaching hands. A Korean businessman hauled Ji-woo to safety. Zara's hands slipped on the platform edge. 10 seconds. The businessman grabbed her wrists, his grip iron strong, and pulled. She scrambled up with 3 seconds to spare. The train roared past, wind whipping her hair across her face. Ji-woo was sobbing, apologizing in a mix of Korean and broken English. Thank you. Zara's hands shook. "It's okay. Anyone would have..." But they hadn't. Dozens had watched. One had acted. They exchanged Instagram handles. Ji-woo still crying, the crowd applauding. Zara picked up her sketch pad and disappeared into the evening. Just another foreigner in a city of millions. What she didn't see, the 2 men in suits who'd watched everything, already on their phones. Min-Jun Park stood at his office window 50 floors above Seoul, his phone pressed to his ear. "Say that again." "Your sister nearly died on the subway, sir. A foreigner saved her." The glass felt cold under his palm. Ji-woo was alive. That was all that mattered. Send me everything. The woman's name, her background, everything. Within an hour, the file arrived. He read it twice. Zara Jackson, 26, Black American from Chicago's South Side, in Seoul on a student visa under the name Zara Bennett. Fake documents, false identity. The reason was buried in the next paragraph. 6 months ago, her 17-year-old brother, Malik, was murdered by the South Side Disciples gang. Shot twice, once in the back as he ran, once in the head as he begged. The shooter, Marcus Reaper Johnson, gang leader. Zara had witnessed everything. Chicago PD wanted her testimony. The Disciples wanted her silent. She'd chosen a third option: run. Fake papers, false trail to Atlanta, real destination Seoul. Her grandmother thought she was on an art fellowship. The gang thought she was dead or smart enough to stay quiet. Min-Jun set down the file and stared at the city below. She was running for her life, carrying grief he understood too well, and she'd stopped running long enough to save his sister. He picked up his phone. Plant false digital trails, make Zara Bennett harder to find, and I want surveillance. Everywhere she goes, everyone she meets. If a Disciples member even books a flight to Asia, I know about it. His second-in-command hesitated. Sir, this is... She saved Jiwoo. Minjun's voice was steel. She'll never know danger while I'm alive. He'd lost his parents to gang violence when he was 12. He'd watched his mother die protecting him. He knew exactly what Zara was running from because he'd run from it once too. The difference was, he'd stopped running and destroyed everyone responsible. For Zara, he'd make sure she never had to. Minjun turned back to the window, Seoul glittering below him like a circuit board of light and shadow. Somewhere down there, a woman who'd risked her life for a stranger was trying to survive her grief alone. Not anymore. One more thing, he said into the phone. I want to know what she needs. Art supplies, housing, anything. If she's struggling, I want options ready. Understood, sir. Minjun ended the call. His reflection stared back at him from the glass. A man built from violence, running an empire in the shadows. And now protecting a woman who painted beauty from pain. He didn't know it yet, but the moment Zara jumped onto those tracks to save his sister, she'd changed the trajectory of both their lives. But the man who freed her was about to walk into her life, and nothing would ever be simple again. To understand what Zara's life looked like before the Mafia boss gave her this anonymous freedom, let me take you on a little ride to the beginning. In the 2 months since the subway rescue, Zara's life in Seoul had settled into a rhythm of grief and survival. Her Hongdae studio apartment was barely bigger than a closet, but every inch of wall space was covered with paintings of Malik's face, his smile, his eyes, the basketball jersey he'd worn the day he died. Every morning she woke up and checked Chicago news for updates on his case. Every morning there was nothing new. Her art classes at the university were taught in Korean she half understood. She was the only black student in a sea of Korean faces, standing out everywhere she went. Strangers touched her hair on the subway without asking, their fingers in her curls before she could stop them. Men at bars leaned close and told her they'd never been with a black woman before, like it was a compliment she should be grateful for. You need to leave him. Hana Choi set down her iced Americano and stared at Zara across the cafe table. Korean-American, 27, illustration major. She was the only real friend Zara had made in Seoul. Zara pulled her sleeve down over the bruise on her arm. 5 finger-shaped marks, purple and ugly. He's just stressed about his channel. Stop. Hana's voice was sharp. You stopped coming to art nights. You don't answer my calls unless he's not around. You have a bruise shaped like a hand on your arm. Zara, this is textbook abuse. The words hit like cold water. Zara looked away, focusing on the cafe window where rain streaked down the glass. Outside, Seoul moved on without caring about one woman's problems. Ethan Marcus had seemed charming when they met at an expat meetup shortly after she'd arrived in Seoul. British accent, easy smile, full of stories about his YouTube travel channel. He'd approached her like she was the most interesting person in the room. The charm had lasted maybe 2 weeks. Then came the corrections. Your Korean pronunciation needs work. The suggestions. Maybe don't wear your hair like that, it's a bit much. The casual cruelty. Your art is too depressing. No one wants dead black boys on their walls. And somehow, she'd stayed, because being alone in Seoul felt worse than being with someone who made her feel small. I can't be alone right now, Zara said quietly. Not with everything. Hana reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Being with the wrong person is lonelier than being alone. Trust me on that. But Zara didn't listen. Not then. That conversation happened 2 weeks before everything changed. 2 weeks before the festival that would end her relationship with Ethan forever. The night of the Gangnam Culture Festival, Seoul transformed into something magical. Lanterns floated overhead like captured stars. Traditional drummers pounded rhythm into the air, and street food vendors called out in rapid Korean. Dancers in hanbok moved like water, their silk sleeves flowing with each graceful turn. Zara filmed them with her phone, genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. She could already see how she'd paint this. The movement, the color, the life. 200 views. Ethan's voice cut through her focus. She turned to find him staring at his phone, his jaw tight. What? My last video. 200 views. Do you know how embarrassing that is? He scrolled aggressively, his thumb stabbing at the screen. I'm sorry. Zara turned back to the dancers, trying to recapture the moment. Are you even listening to me? Yes, No, you're not. Ethan stepped closer, his voice rising. You're never listening. You're always in your own world, your art, your dead brother, your grief. What about me? What about my dreams? The mention of Malik made her chest tighten. Don't bring him into this. Why not? You bring him into everything. Ethan's face twisted into something ugly. You think running to Korea brings him back? You think painting his face over and over changes what you saw? He's dead, Zara. He's dead and you're stuck, and I'm the one who has to deal with... She turned to leave. She was done. She was finally, completely done. Ethan grabbed her arm, the same arm he'd bruised 2 weeks ago, and yanked her back hard enough to make her stumble. You're dead when we get home! The festival music kept playing, but their little section of the crowd went silent. People turned to stare. An elderly Korean grandmother stepped forward, her face fierce, scolding Ethan in rapid Korean. He shoved her aside. The grandmother stumbled. A younger woman caught her, and suddenly there were 3 Korean men moving forward, their faces dark with anger. Zara didn't wait to see what happened next. She ran. She pushed through the crowd, her heart hammering, tears burning her eyes. Behind her, she could hear Ethan shouting something, but she didn't care. She just ran until the festival lights blurred and the crowd swallowed her whole. Across the street, in a restaurant with floor-to-ceiling windows and white tablecloths, Min-Jun Park shattered a whiskey glass in his hand. Blood mixed with liquor, dripping onto the table. His 3 business associates froze mid-conversation. Min-Jun didn't notice. He was watching the festival through the window, watching Zara disappear into the crowd, watching Ethan shove an elderly woman to the ground, watching everything he'd spent 2 months protecting her from manifest in one violent moment. His mother had died protecting him when he was 12, died because she'd stepped between him and a bullet. Violence against protective elders wasn't just wrong to Min-Jun, it was visceral, triggering, unforgivable. Sir, your hand, Min-Jun set down what remained of the glass. Get me everything on Ethan Marcus. Every secret, every sin, every weakness. I want his entire life in a file in 30 minutes. His associate's eyes widened. Sir? Every sponsor he has, every account, every person he's ever contacted. I want to know what he ate for breakfast and who he's sleeping with behind her back. Min-Jun's voice was winter cold, each word precise. And I want footage, audio and video of what he just said to her. Crystal clear. Right away, sir. Min-Jun stood, ignoring the blood on his hand. You're in charge of the meeting. I have something more important to handle. He'd been watching Zara for 2 months, knew her coffee order, her favorite bookstore, the way she smiled at street cats. He'd kept the disciples away from her, planted false trails, made sure she was safe. But he'd never intervened in her relationship. That was her choice to make, until tonight. Until Ethan put his hands on her in public and screamed a death threat loud enough for witnesses. Until he shoved an elderly woman who'd tried to help. Now it was Min-Jun's choice, and he chose destruction. 2 hours later, Ethan would learn what happens when you threaten someone Min-Jun Park has decided to protect. 2 hours after the festival, Ethan Marcus sat in a freezing warehouse with zip ties cutting into his wrists. He'd been 3 blocks from Zara's apartment when the black SUVs appeared. 4 men in suits, none of them speaking English, all of them moving with military precision. A bag over his head, his phone confiscated, and now this. Concrete floors, a single hanging light, and the certain knowledge that he'd made a terrible mistake. The door opened. Min-Jun walked in holding a tablet, his hand wrapped in white bandages. He didn't look at Ethan. He simply set up the tablet on a stand and pressed play. Ethan's own voice filled the warehouse. "You're dead when we get home. You're dead when we get home. You're dead when we get home." The recording looped 3 times before Minjun stopped it. "You threatened a woman in public, loudly enough for dozens to hear." Minjun finally looked at him, and Ethan felt his bladder nearly give out. Those eyes were empty of everything except cold calculation. "You also put your hands on an elderly woman who tried to help." "I didn't mean. We were just fighting. She's my girlfriend." Minjun opened a manila folder and spread photographs on the floor in front of Ethan's chair. "These are from cameras I installed in her apartment, for her protection." The photos showed Ethan in Zara's bed, with 3 different women, different nights, different positions, same disgusting betrayal. "I've watched you disrespect her for 2 months," Minjun said quietly. "Watched you criticize her art, her grief, her dreams. Watched you isolate her from her friends. I didn't interfere because those were her choices to navigate." He crouched down to eye level. "But you put your hands on her. You made a public death threat. You crossed a line." Minjun's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "That woman you threatened? 3 months ago, she risked her life to save my sister from an oncoming train, a complete stranger, and she didn't hesitate, which means she's under my protection now, permanently." Ethan's voice cracked. "What do you want?" "There's a flight to London in 4 hours. You'll be on it." Minjun stood, pulling out his phone. "By the time you land, every sponsor you have will have received evidence of your tax fraud and fake follower purchases. Every woman you've slept with will have photos of the others. Your bank accounts are frozen for investigation. Your YouTube channel will be terminated for fraudulent engagement. You can't—" "I already have." Minjun showed him the phone screen. Emails sent, accounts flagged, Ethan's entire digital life unraveling in real time. "If you ever contact Zara again, email, text, social media, carrier pigeon, I'll know. And next time, we won't be having a conversation. Do you understand?" Ethan nodded frantically, tears and snot running down his face. "Good." Minjun gestured to his men. "Take him to the airport. Make sure he gets on that plane." They cut Ethan's zip ties and hauled him to his feet. As they dragged him toward the door, Minjun called out one last time. "Oh, and Ethan, if you even think her name, remember, I'm always watching." Ethan never spoke Zara's name again. Not to friends, not to therapists, not even in his own head. Years later, he'd see a Korean man in a London coffee shop and have a panic attack so severe he'd need to leave the country for a month. Zara woke to her phone buzzing with text messages. 2:14 a.m., Ethan. "I'm sorry, 3:08 a.m. Ethan. "Family emergency. Have to leave Korea." 3:22 a.m., Ethan. "We're done. Don't contact me." 4:15 a.m., Ethan. "I mean it. Forget about me." She stared at the messages, her mind foggy with sleep. Family emergency? He barely spoke to his family. And the timing, just hours after the festival? Her phone rang. Hannah. "Girl, have you seen the news?" Zara sat up. "What news?" "Ethan. He's been completely exposed. Fraud, cheating, everything. It's all over expat social media." Hannah sent screenshots, anonymous posts with receipts, evidence of Ethan buying fake followers, underreporting income, cheating with multiple women. His sponsors were posting public denouncements. His YouTube channel was gone. His Instagram deleted. This happened overnight? Zara's hands trembled as she scrolled. Someone destroyed him. Professionally, thoroughly. This wasn't random, Zara. Zara thought about the festival, Ethan's public threat, the way he'd shoved that grandmother, and now, less than 12 hours later, his entire life had imploded. "Someone helped me," she whispered. "Looks like it. The question is who?" Zara didn't have an answer, but for the first time in months, she felt like she could breathe. That afternoon, she painted for the first time in weeks. Not Malik's face, Seoul's streets, the festival dancers, color bleeding back into her world. 5 days later, Zara found herself in Insadong's oldest bookstore, 3 floors of narrow aisles and the smell of old paper and tea. She was browsing the Korean poetry section. Frustrated with the Hangul characters she still couldn't fully read, she pulled out a slim volume. The cover image spoke to her even if the title didn't. When she opened it, a bookmark fell out. Handwritten in English, "Art is how we decorate space. Music is how we decorate time. Both are how we survive loss." Her breath caught. That was Malik's quote. Something he used to say, adapted from a philosopher he loved. But no one in Korea knew about Malik. No one knew what he used to say. She turned, looking for who could have left it. A man stood across the aisle. Tall, sharp jawline, expensive suit that probably cost more than her rent. Dark eyes that seemed to see straight through her. She recognized him from the festival. He'd been at the restaurant across from where Ethan... He approached, moving with careful control. "You dropped that." "No, I didn't. It was in the book." Zara's heart hammered. "How do you know about my brother?" "Because I've been watching you since the subway." His voice was deep, measured. 3 months ago, you saved my sister from an oncoming train. Her name is Ji-woo Park, and I've been protecting you ever since." Zara took a step back. "Protecting me from what?" "The gang from Chicago. They're looking for you. The South Side Disciples." He pulled out his phone and showed her photos. Men she recognized, Disciples members, at Seoul Airport, in Itaewon, asking questions about Black American women. "They found you because of your ex-boyfriend's social media posts. He mentioned his girlfriend in Seoul before I had his accounts deleted." The room tilted. All of that?" "That was you?" "He threatened you. I removed the threat." No apology in his voice, just fact. "And I'd do it again." "Who are you?" "My name is Minjun Park. I run a criminal organization, and I'm offering to keep you safe." Zara should run. Every instinct screamed it, but she'd faced worse than this man's honesty. "Why? Why protect me?" "Because you saved Ji-woo when no one else moved. Life debt. In my world, that means something." "And what do you want in return?" Minjun held her gaze. "Nothing. Just know you're safe. That's all." He handed her a business card and walked toward the exit. Zara stood frozen, holding the card and the bookmark with her dead brother's favorite words. She should throw the card away. Forget this happened. Stay far away from a man who just admitted to being a criminal. But the Disciples were in Seoul, hunting her. And this stranger, this dangerous, honest stranger, had been protecting her for months. Zara looked down at the card. A phone number, nothing else. The Disciples had killed her brother. Now they were coming for her. And the only person offering protection was a gangster who destroyed her ex-boyfriend in a single night. She pocketed the card. Sometimes survival meant accepting help from dangerous places. For 2 weeks, Zara tried to ignore the business card. She went to classes, painted in her tiny apartment, met Hana for coffee. Normal life, safe life. But she kept checking over her shoulder, kept seeing men who might be watching, kept remembering those photos Minjun had shown her. Disciples members in Seoul, searching. On day 15, she called the number. They met at a cafe with private back rooms. Minjun arrived exactly on time, carrying a leather folder. "Thank you for calling," he said, sitting across from her. "Show me the proof, that they're really here, that you're not just..." She didn't finish. Didn't know how to say manipulating me like Ethan did without sounding paranoid. Minjun opened the folder. More photos, but these were recent, dated 2 days ago. Disciples members in Hongdae, showing people a photo on their phone. Zara's photo. They're canvassing expat areas, asking about Black American women, specifically art students. He slid another document across. "This is the social media post your ex-boyfriend made before I deleted his accounts. He mentioned his girlfriend in Seoul 3 times, tagged the location." Zara's hands shook as she read it. Ethan had led them here. Unintentionally, but he'd led them straight to her. Why are you telling me all this? Because you deserve to know the truth, and because... Minjun paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. My parents were killed by gang violence when I was 12. I know exactly what you're running from. Something in his voice made her look up. He wasn't lying. She could hear the weight of old grief, the kind that never fully healed. How did you end up running a criminal organization? The organization raised me after my parents died. I had a baby sister to protect. I became what I needed to be. He met her eyes. I'm not a good man, Zara. I've done things that would horrify you, but I will keep you safe. And what do you want from me? I already told you, nothing. Nobody protects people for free. Minjun smiled slightly like she'd passed a test. You're right, so I'll be honest. I want to know you're safe because it matters to me. You saved Jiwoo. That matters. But also, he hesitated. I've been watching you paint. Create beauty while carrying that much pain. You reminded me there's more to life than what I do. Zara studied him. Expensive suit, controlled movements, eyes that had seen too much. A man built from violence trying to protect something good. What happens now? That's your choice. I can keep watching from a distance, or you can let me help more directly. Before Zara could answer, her phone buzzed. A text from her landlord. Your apartment was broken into. Please come immediately. Minjun saw her face change. What is it? My apartment. They arrived to find her door hanging open. Inside was devastation. Every painting slashed. Malik's face destroyed over and over. Canvas ripped, paint smeared. Years of work. Ruined. Her photos of him torn to pieces and scattered like confetti. Her mattress stabbed through, her clothes shredded. And on the wall, spray painted in red, we found you, witness below it. The Disciples gang tag. Zara's knees gave out. She collapsed among the destroyed paintings, her breath coming in gasps. They'd found her. After 6 months, after running halfway around the world, they'd found her. If you're feeling this story, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Would you run or fight? Minjun crouched beside her, not touching, but close. Breathe. Look at me. Breathe. She couldn't. All she could see was Malik's ruined face, painted over and over on canvases she'd never get back. The only pieces of him she had left, destroyed by the people who'd killed him. I can't stay here. You won't. Minjun pulled out his phone. Pack a bag. You're coming with me. I can't just... They know where you live. They've been inside your home. This isn't negotiable. His voice was firm but not cruel. Pack what you can carry. My men are already tracking them from the building's security footage. Zara looked around the wreckage. At the destroyed paintings, the violated space, the spray-painted threat. She thought about staying in a hotel, about running again, about being alone with this terror. Okay, she whispered. Okay. She packed one bag, clothes, toiletries, her laptop, the few paintings they hadn't destroyed. Everything else was gone. Years of work, years of processing Malik's death through art, just gone. Minjun's penthouse was on the 50th floor of a building in Gangnam, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, minimalist furniture, armed guards at the entrance and in the hallway. This is where you live? Zara set down her bag, overwhelmed. This is where we live, until they're dealt with. He showed her to a guest bedroom bigger than her entire apartment had been. Ensuite bathroom, everything you need. You're safe here. Safe. The word felt foreign. That night, after she'd showered and changed and tried to process everything, there was a knock on the bedroom door. Minjun stood in the hallway. Can we talk? They went to his study. He poured her whiskey without asking. She needed it. Then he did something she didn't expect. He sat down and told her the truth. I run a syndicate, protection, information brokering, territory control. I'm a criminal, Zara. I've hurt people. I've killed people. He showed her maps of Seoul with territories marked, ledgers of operations. I inherited this at 19 when my parents died, built it into what it is. I'm not a good man. Zara took a long drink of whiskey. So I escaped the disciples just to get protected by Korean Mafia? The difference is I'll never hurt you. They will. That's the only difference that matters right now. She should call the police. Turn him in. Run. Instead, she said, I have conditions. Minjun waited. No more. Decisions about my life without asking me first. No more watching without my knowledge. And you tell me the truth. Always. Even when it's ugly. Deal. He extended his hand. They shook. His grip was firm, warm. The touch lasted a beat longer than necessary. Zara pulled back first. So what happens now? Now we keep you alive, and we make sure the disciples regret ever coming to Seoul. Over the next 3 weeks, they developed a rhythm. Separate bedrooms, careful distance. But Zara found herself drawn to his library, floor-to-ceiling books, classics and poetry and philosophy. You studied literature? She ran her fingers along the spines. At university, before my parents died. Minjun appeared in the doorway with coffee, prepared exactly how she liked it. I was going to be a professor, teach Dostoevsky and Camus. What happened? Ji-woo happened. She was 8. I was 19. I had a choice. Stay in school and let the syndicate raise her, or drop out and protect her myself. He handed Zara the coffee. I chose her. Zara sipped. Perfect. He'd been watching her long enough to know she took it black with 1 sugar. Do you regret it? Every day, and never. He smiled slightly. Both can be true. She understood that. Regret and certainty living side by side. They trained together. Self-defense, shooting, strategy. His hands correcting her stance, their bodies close. Moments where the air felt charged, and neither of them acknowledged it. Ji-woo visited, bringing light and normalcy. Medical student studying for exams, completely ordinary except for her extraordinary brother. Thank you, Ji-woo said to Zara over tea, for saving me and for being patient with him. He's not good at people. I noticed. But he's good at protection, and he's never brought a woman here before. You're the first. Zara felt something flutter in her chest, ignored it. Hana came weakly, still suspicious of Minjun, but warming slowly. He's a criminal, Zara. I know, but he makes you smile. I haven't seen you smile since Malik. It was true. Somewhere between the training and the conversations and the quiet moments in his library, she'd started to feel alive again. Then the video arrived, an encrypted email. No sender, just a file. Security footage from the night Malik died, the night that destroyed her life. Zara opened it before thinking, before preparing herself, and there he was, Malik, walking home from basketball practice, headphones in, completely unaware. The Disciples members approaching, Reaper's face clear in the streetlight. You ready to join the family, little man? I'm not interested. I'm going to college. Wrong answer. The gunshots, Malik running, falling, crawling, begging. The final shot to his head. Zara's scream brought Minjun running. He found her on the floor, the video still playing, months of held grief breaking free in sobs that tore through her chest. He didn't ask questions, just pulled her against him and held her while she shattered completely. The message came with the video. Record a statement saying this never happened. Say Malik was in a gang. Make him look guilty. Or we send this to every news outlet with your brother labeled as a criminal. You have 72 hours. Zara couldn't stop shaking. Minjun held her on the study floor, letting her cry until there were no tears left. I can't let them make him a liar, she finally whispered. He was good. He was going to Northwestern on full scholarship, engineering. He was going to be someone. He was someone. He was your brother. Minjun's voice was gentle, and they won't make him a liar. How do we stop them? You testify, really testify, to actual authorities, make his death matter. They'll kill me. Minjun pulled back to look at her, his hands framing her face. Over my dead body. Something in his eyes made her believe him. The next week blurred together. Minjun's legal team contacted Chicago PD, arranged secure video testimony, built a case that would send Reaper and his entire gang to prison. But in the quiet moments, something else was building between them. Late one night, Zara couldn't sleep. She found herself in Minjun's library, making tea. He appeared in the doorway like he'd been waiting. "Can't sleep either?" she asked, thinking about the testimony, the risks. Zara turned to face him. "Having second thoughts about protecting me? About letting you put yourself in danger? Yes." He stepped into the room. "But it's not my choice to make." "No, it's not." They stood there, 3 feet apart, the air thick with everything unsaid. "Do you regret it?" Minjun asked quietly. "Not testifying the first time?" "Every single day, but I regret being dead more." "That's not cowardice, that's survival." Zara set down her tea. "You sound like you know about running." "I ran once, after my parents died. Ran for 3 days before I realized some things chase you forever. So you stop running and face them." "Is that what you did?" "I destroyed them. Everyone involved in my parents' deaths. All of them." His voice was dark, honest. "And I'm not sorry." The admission should have scared her. It didn't. "I should be afraid of you," she said, taking a step closer. "You should be." Another step. "But I'm not." Minjun's control cracked. He closed the distance and cupped her face, his touch gentle despite the strength in his hands. "If we do this, if we cross this line, I won't be able to let you go." "Then don't." The kiss was soft at first, testing, asking permission, then deeper as she responded, her hands sliding into his hair. He tasted like whiskey and promises. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her closer. Zara's whole body felt electric, alive in a way she hadn't been since Malik died. Minjun pulled back, breathing hard, his forehead against hers. "We shouldn't. Not while you're vulnerable and scared." "I'm not asking because I'm scared. I'm asking because I want you." "Zara, you want me to choose you clearly when I'm thinking straight." She understood. "Not just because you're here." He nodded, relief and frustration mixing on his face. They stopped at kissing, stood there holding each other, both knowing everything had changed. 3 days later, after another therapy session where Zara worked through her grief about Malik, she broke down in Minjun's home studio. The painting she'd been working on, an abstract piece about loss, suddenly felt like too much. Minjun found her on the floor, paint-stained and crying. He didn't say anything, just pulled her close. "I love you." The words came out broken. "I've loved you since Jiwoo described you after the subway, the brave woman who didn't hesitate. I loved the idea of you before I met you, and then I met you and loved the reality even more." Zara looked up at him, tears on her face. "How can you love someone you haven't met?" "Because bravery like yours is rare. Kindness while carrying that much pain is rarer." He wiped her tears with his thumb. "And now that I know you, I love how you create beauty from grief, how you're terrified but choose courage anyway, how you're broken but refuse to stay broken." "I love you too." The words felt huge, terrifying, true. "And it scares me." "Me too." They just held each other. No sex, no pressure, just 2 broken people choosing to be broken together. A week later, everything shifted. Zara was painting in the studio Minjun had set up for her. He was supposed to be working, but kept watching her instead. "You're staring," she said without looking up. "You're beautiful when you create." She turned, covered in paint. "Just when I create." "Always." He set down his laptop and crossed to her. "But especially then." Zara's heart raced. She put down her brush and met him halfway. "I'm going to get paint all over your expensive suit." "I don't care." He pulled her close, and this time when they kissed, neither of them pulled back. They made it to his bedroom, hands everywhere, laughing when her paint-stained fingers left marks on his chest. The intensity built slowly, learning each other, exploring, claiming. "Are you sure?" Min-jun asked, his voice rough. "I've been sure since you gave me choice instead of control." What followed was both desperate and tender, bodies learning each other, whispered words in Korean and English, Min-jun worshipping her like art, Zara claiming him with certainty. They made love multiple times through the night, each time different, desperate, then playful, then slow and devastating. Between rounds, they talked. "I've wanted this since the bookstore," Min-jun admitted, tracing patterns on her skin. "I've wanted this since you gave me your phone to call the police, since you proved you'd give me power over you." Dawn found them tangled together, both processing what they'd become. The next morning, over breakfast that neither of them cooked well, Zara asked the question that mattered. "What are we?" Min-jun looked at her across the table. "Mine. If you'll have me, I'm yours." She reached for his hand. "If you're mine, always." But while they were building something real, someone close to Min-jun was about to betray them both, and the betrayal would come from the person he trusted most. Soo-jin arrived at the penthouse the next day for a business meeting. She was beautiful, capable, and had worked with Min-jun for 10 years, his second in command, the person he trusted with his empire. She took one look at Zara curled up on Min-jun's couch reading, and her jaw tightened. Soo-jin spoke in rapid Korean, her tone sharp. Zara didn't understand the words, but she understood the hostility. Min-jun's response was cold. "English! Show respect!" "The men are talking." Soo-jin switched languages. "They think you're distracted, weak for an American woman." "Then the men can find new employment." After Soo-jin left, Zara asked the question she'd been avoiding. "Who is she, really?" Min-jun sighed. "My second in command. We worked together for 10 years. "That's all?" "We were involved, briefly, years ago. She chose the organization over me." He pulled Zara close. "I never forgot that. And now you're here, choosing me over safety. There's no comparison." But later, when Ji-woo visited, Zara's insecurity crept back. "Am I just different to him? Exotic?" Ji-woo's response was firm. "Soo-jin wanted power. You want him. He knows the difference. You're the first person he's let himself want something for beyond the organization." That night, Min-jun proved it. Their lovemaking was different, slower, more intentional. Him showing her with his body that she wasn't replaceable, whispering in Korean how beautiful she was, how much he needed her. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Zara finally felt certain. The testimony was scheduled for the next day. Everything was ready. Secure video connection to Chicago PD. Min-jun's men positioned throughout the building, lawyers on standby. Then Min-jun's tech team discovered the breach. Someone had accessed their security schedules, guard rotations, system passwords. The leak was traced to Soo-jin's access codes. Min-jun stood in his office, staring at the evidence, his face carved from stone. "Bring her here, now." 20 minutes later, Soo-jin stood before him. Zara was there too. Min-jun had promised transparency, and he kept his promises. "Explain." Min-jun's voice was ice. Soo-jin didn't deny it. "I'm protecting what we built." "By betraying me? By trying to save you from her?" Soo-jin gestured at Zara. "She makes you weak. Love makes you vulnerable. I gave them the testimony schedule to force your hand, make you cancel it, keep you safe." "By endangering Zara?" "By showing you she's not worth your empire." The room went silent. Min-jun's voice dropped to a whisper. "Get out. You're done. If I ever see you near my family again, we won't be having a conversation." Soo-jin's face crumpled. 10 years of loyalty, destroyed. She looked at Zara. "You'll ruin him." Zara surprised herself by responding calmly. "You loved him. I understand that. But he's choosing me, and you need to accept it." After Soo-jin left, Min-jun showed Zara the full scope of the betrayal. Soo-jin had been feeding information to Dae-jung, a rival syndicate boss. But Dae-jung wasn't working alone. He'd partnered with Reaper. The disciples' leader had arrived in Seoul 3 weeks ago, needed local help to find Zara and eliminate Min-jun's protection. Dae-jung wanted revenge. Min-jun's organization had killed his younger brother 5 years ago and saw this as his opportunity. Their plan: attack during the testimony, grab Ji-woo as leverage, trade Zara's life for hers. Min-jun's counter-plan was immediate. Move the testimony time, station extra security at the hospital, fortify the penthouse. No matter what happens, he told Zara, you finish the testimony. You make Malik's death matter. The next morning, everything fell apart. The video connection established. Chicago detectives on screen, recording equipment ready. Zara took a deep breath and began. My name is Zara Jackson. 6 months ago, I witnessed the murder of my brother, Malik Jackson, age 17. Her voice shook but held. She detailed everything: the date, the location, Reaper's face, the other gang members present. He was shot twice. Once in the back as he tried to run, once in the head as he begged for his life. The shooter was Marcus Reaper Johnson, leader of the Southside Disciples. She named every gang member she remembered, described their tattoos, their faces, their voices. 10 minutes into her testimony, alarms shrieked through the penthouse. Security breach, multiple entry points, coordinated assault. Min-jun appeared at the doorway. Keep talking. Don't stop, no matter what. Gunfire erupted somewhere in the building. Zara's voice wavered. The detectives on screen looked concerned. Miss Jackson, should we pause? No. Zara forced steel into her voice. I'm finishing this. My brother deserves that. She continued through the chaos, described Malik's dreams, Northwestern University, engineering degree, getting out of the neighborhood, made sure they understood. He was good, he said no to a gang, and they killed him for it. I'm testifying today so his death means something, she said, tears streaming down her face as gunfire echoed through the walls. So they can't kill him twice by making him a lie. The detectives nodded. We have everything we need, Ms. Jackson. Arrest warrants will be issued within the hour. Zara disconnected and immediately called Min-jun. It's done. I testified. His voice was strained, fighting in the background. Good. Now hide. Guest bedroom. Lock the door. Don't come out until I come for you. Be careful. Always. Zara ran to the bedroom and locked the door. She could hear fighting, shouting, chaos. Minutes felt like hours. Then her phone buzzed. A photo. Ji-woo on the building's rooftop, Reaper holding a gun to her head, 2 other Disciples members flanking them, and Dae-jung watching from the side, smiling. The text read, Roof, now, alone, or the sister dies. Zara's blood went cold. They'd grabbed. Ji-woo from the hospital used Soo-jin's information about her schedule. This was always the plan, get past Min-jun by taking his sister. She called him. They have Ji-woo, rooftop. Min-jun's voice filled with dread. I'm coming, don't you dare, I'm going up there. Zara, no, she's in danger because of me, I'm going. She hung up before he could argue and headed for the stairs. The testimony was complete, but the real fight was just beginning, and it would cost them more than either of them knew. The rooftop was freezing, wind whipping across the concrete. Zara stepped out to find Reaper holding Ji-woo with a gun pressed to her temple. 2 other Disciples members stood ready. Dae-jung leaned against the rooftop railing, watching like this was entertainment. The witness, finally. Reaper's smile was cruel. Took you long enough. Before Zara could respond, the door burst open. Min-jun appeared, slightly out of breath from fighting his way through the building. Let her go, he said, his voice deadly calm. Reaper laughed. Simple trade. Her life. He gestured at Ji-woo. For the witness. Zara stepped forward, hands raised. Done. Let her go and I'll... Min-jun grabbed her arm. No. She's here because of me. Zara pulled free. Let me fix this. There's another way. Tick-tock, Reaper interrupted. Or I shoot the Korean girl and hunt you down anyway. Zara looked at Min-jun, then at Ji-woo, the young woman who'd become like a sister, who'd been kidnapped because Zara had testified. She walked forward. Each step felt like miles. Min-jun's voice behind her, desperate in a way she'd never heard. Zara, don't... Ji-woo saved my life once by being brave, she said without looking back. Now I save hers. Reaper reached for her with his free hand, gun still on Ji-woo. Then Ji-woo moved. Medical school training kicked in. She struck a pressure point on Reaper's gun arm, the radial nerve, exactly where it would paralyze his grip. The gun clattered to the concrete. Ji-woo dropped and rolled away. Zara dove for the fallen weapon. Her hands closed around it, Min-jun's training taking over, and she fired. The shot hit Reaper's shoulder. Not fatal, not meant to be. He screamed and stumbled back. Min-jun was already in motion. He tackled the other two Disciples members with brutal efficiency. Years of violence condensed into 30 seconds of controlled fury. Dae-jung tried to run. Min-jun's men blocked the exits. Reaper, wounded and cornered, pulled a backup weapon from his ankle holster. His hand shook from the shoulder wound, but he managed to aim it at Zara. If I die, you die first! The gunshot cut him off. Ji-woo stood holding Reaper's dropped gun, her hands trembling. The shot had hit his leg. That's for kidnapping me, she whispered. Reaper fell. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Min-jun's lawyers had called them. It was over. Min-jun pulled both women close, his arms around them, breathing hard. You're both alive, that's what matters. But Ji-woo's right hand was shaking badly, more than adrenaline should cause. She looked down at it, tried to close her fingers. They barely responded. I can't, my hand... During the struggle, Reaper had twisted her wrist violently. The paramedics who arrived minutes later examined it with grim faces. Ligament damage. You'll need surgery. There may be nerve damage. Ji-woo's face went pale. She was a medical student. She wanted to be a surgeon. Fine motor control was everything. At the hospital hours later, the surgeon's report confirmed their fears. The ligaments could be repaired, but surgical precision was unlikely. Ji-woo could use her hand for normal tasks, but operating on patients? Questionable. Zara sat beside her hospital bed, guilt crushing her chest. This is my fault, your career. Stop. Ji-woo's voice was weak but firm. I chose to save you. Honor that choice. But your dreams, medical research exists, teaching, consultation. Ji-woo managed a small smile. I'll find a path. We're family now. Family protects each other. The word family made Zara's eyes burn with tears. Min-jun stood at the window, watching Seoul's lights. I'll make sure you have every resource, every opportunity. I know, Appa. Ji-woo squeezed his hand with her good one. But right now, I just need you both here. They stayed until she fell asleep. The legal consequences came fast. Seoul prosecutors investigating the building assault, the rooftop confrontation, Min-jun's entire organization. The heat was too intense to ignore. His lawyers negotiated a deal, immunity for testimony against Dae-jung and other rival syndicates. But the price was steep. Dissolve his organization, go completely legitimate, cooperate fully with authorities. 2 days later, Min-jun called a meeting with his remaining lieutenants. Zara was there, as he'd promised transparency. I'm stepping down, effective immediately. His voice was steady. I'm transitioning everything to legitimate operations, security consulting, information services, all above board. His lieutenant's face showed shock. Sir, you built this empire for 15 years, and I'm choosing her over it. Min-jun looked at Zara. The empire or the woman I love? It's not even a question. The cost was immediate. Former allies became enemies, seeing him as a traitor who'd cooperated with police. His reputation in that world, destroyed. Financial strain from legal fees and paying off threats, moving from the penthouse to a modest apartment because maintaining the fortress was impossible. But he never looked back. 2 months later, their life had settled into something resembling normal. The apartment was smaller, cozier. Minjun's legitimate security firm was growing slowly. Zara had taken a teaching assistant job at the art school. It barely paid rent, but it was hers. They fought sometimes. Real fights about independence versus safety, about money and pride, and learning to be a couple instead of survivors in crisis mode. After their worst fight, a full day of not speaking, Minjun finally broke the silence. "I was wrong. You're not fragile. You don't need constant protection." He sat beside her on the couch. "I'm sorry." Zara leaned into him. "I was wrong, too. You're not controlling. You're learning. We both are." They went to therapy, individual and couples, worked through decades of violence for him, grief and trauma for her. Zara video called her grandmother, told her everything, the whole truth about Malik, the disciple's soul, Minjun. Her grandmother cried, "Baby, I thought I lost you too. I'm safe now, Grandma, and I testified. For Malik." "He'd be so proud." "I'm proud." Her grandmother smiled through tears. "I want to meet this man who loves you enough to give up an empire." Plans were made. Grandmother would visit next month, meet Minjun properly, be part of their lives. Jiwoo found her path in medical research. Her hand had recovered enough for lab work, data analysis, studies that would help more people than individual surgeries ever could. She was actually excited about it. 3 months after the testimony, Zara submitted her art to Seoul Contemporary Gallery. The first submission was rejected, too raw. The second, too personal. The third submission was accepted. Not a solo show, just 3 pieces in a group exhibition. But it was something. The Survival Stories series. Before showed Malik alive and smiling. During was abstract violence in reds and blacks. After was her and Minjun, healing together. Critics were mixed. Some called it powerful. Others questioned if she was romanticizing a criminal relationship. Online debates raged. Minjun read the comments with her. "They're not all wrong to question it." "No," Zara agreed, "but they don't know our story, the real one." "Does that matter?" "Only to us." The exhibition opening was small but meaningful. Hannah brought her girlfriend, finally fully supportive. Jiwoo stood before After with tears in her eyes. "You made us beautiful." Then Soo Jin appeared. She stood before the painting of Minjun and Zara, her face unreadable. Zara tensed. Minjun's hand found hers. Soo Jin approached. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just wanted to see what was worth losing you over." Minjun's voice was careful. "Soo Jin, she painted you vulnerable. I never saw you like that." Soo Jin looked at Zara. "Take care of him. He's more fragile than he pretends." "I know." Soo Jin nodded once and left. Not forgiveness, but closure. That night, Minjun and Zara went to a regular restaurant for jjigae and soju. No crisis, no danger, just a couple eating dinner. They talked about blending their cultures when her grandmother visited. Chicago comfort food meeting Korean traditions, Sunday dinners that honored both their families, walking home hand in hand, no bodyguards. Minjun said, "This is nice, normal. We earned it." And for the first time in either of their lives, normal felt like enough. 4 months after they met, Minjun realized he wanted forever. The problem was he had no idea how to ask for it. It was late night in their modest apartment. Zara was painting by the window, Seoul's lights creating a backdrop of gold and shadow. Minjun watched her from the couch, coffee going cold in his hand. "I've been thinking about futures," he said. Zara turned, paint streaking her cheek. "Good futures or bad futures?" "Terrifying futures." He set down the coffee and crossed to her. "I need to tell you something." "Okay." The words broke out of him like a dam bursting. "I'm terrified. Every day I wake up thinking you'll realize you can do better than a former gangster in therapy trying to run a legitimate business. I gave up an empire, but what if that's not enough? What if you need more than I can give you?" Tears ran down his face. The first time she'd seen him cry. "I don't know how to be normal. I don't know how to do this without control or violence or—" His voice cracked. "I just know I love you more than I've ever loved anything, and I don't want to lose you." Zara set down her brush and took his face in her hands. "Minjun, look at me." He met her eyes. "I don't want normal. I want you. Complicated, broken, trying everyday you." She wiped his tears with her thumbs. "You gave up power for partnership. You chose vulnerability over control. You're the bravest person I know. I'm scared I'm not enough. You're more than enough." She kissed him softly. "You're everything." Minjun took a shaky breath. "Will you marry me? Not now, when things are calmer. When I'm worthy." "You're worthy now." Zara smiled through her own tears. "Yes, to eventual marriage, to choosing each other every day. Yes to all of it." They made love that night with joy instead of desperation, laughter mixing with passion, both certain of their future. Afterward, they planned aloud, her grandmother's visit, a wedding blending Korean and Chicago traditions, small and meaningful. "Spring wedding," Zara said, wrapped in his arms. "Your family and mine. Both cultures, both stories." "Both of us choosing this," Minjun agreed. 6 months after the subway rescue that changed everything, life had found its rhythm. Zara's art was selling, not enough to be rich, but enough to contribute. Minjun's security firm was growing through legitimate contracts. They weren't wealthy, but they were stable. Her grandmother had visited last month, spending 2 weeks getting to know Minjun. She'd approved, which meant everything. The Chicago trial was scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Zara would have to testify in person, face Reaper in court. Minjun had already booked their flights. He'd be beside her every second. It was dawn when Zara's phone rang. Minjun's former organization, another crisis, asking for his expertise. He looked at the phone, then at Zara painting by the window in the early light. "Answer it," she said. "I left that life. For you. You left running it. But they're still your people. Help them." She smiled. "I'll be here when you're done." Minjun answered, solved their crisis in 5 minutes with the strategic mind that had built an empire. Hung up and felt something settle inside him. He could balance both worlds, his past and his future, as long as she was the center. He crossed to her easel. "What are you painting?" "Us." She showed him. Their figures intertwined, but the background was Chicago and Seoul blending together. Both cities, both cultures, both their stories. "Our past and our future," she explained, "both part of us." Minjun wrapped his arms around her waist, chin on her shoulder. "Any regrets?" "Not one. Every scar, every nightmare, every impossible choice. All of it led here." She leaned back against him. "To someone who sees my darkness and doesn't run." "To someone I can love with my whole broken heart," he added. Through the window, Seoul was waking up, the city that had brought them together, that had tested them, that had given them each other. "We're going to be okay," Zara said softly. "Better than okay." Minjun kissed her temple. "We're going to be real. Not a fairy tale, not perfect, but theirs. Built on sacrifice and scars, and choosing each other when running would have been easier. A partnership forged in fire, strengthened by honesty, sustained by love that didn't conquer but survived. Love that adapted, that fought, that chose to stay even when staying was hard." Minjun's phone buzzed again. He ignored it this time. Chose her over everything else. Again. As he would every day for the rest of their lives. Zara painted while he watched, creating beauty from pain, just like she always had, just like she always would. And in the window's reflection, souls stretched behind them, a city of shadows and light, danger and hope, endings and beginnings. Their story wasn't over. The Chicago trial waited. Min Jun's past would always cast shadows. Zara's grief would never fully heal. Life would bring new challenges, new fears, new reasons to run. But they'd face it together. Two broken people who'd witnessed each other's worst moments and said, "I'll stay anyway." That wasn't romance. That was partnership. And it was harder and messier and more real than any story Zara could paint. But it was theirs. Every imperfect, beautiful, brave moment of it. They were writing it together, one impossible day at a time. If this story wrecked you in the best way, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment. Would you choose love over safety? And hit the bell, because the next story will destroy you even more beautifully. See you there.